and today I'm going to demonstrate how to do cathedral lace windows. This is a technique that I adapted from quilting techniques and figured out a way to put lace under these strips so that you get that nice transparent look the way heirloom lovers like. To begin, I start out with bias strips of fabric. Lightweight fabric and natural fiber fabrics are best. Cotton batiste, handkerchief linen are the best because you need a fabric that has a nice stretchy bias that also will hold a crease. So this is cotton batiste. Bias strips, these are cut 2.5 inches wide, and I take 2 bias strips and place them on top of each other. Then use a long basting stitch on the machine and stitch right down the center of those pieces. Then take the pieces of fabric and open them up as if I were stitching a seam, pressing a seam open. This is really important because if you don't do this step, the rest of the steps won't work. So I always tell students, kind of give a little tug. If you can't see air through that seam, then you haven't pressed these strips open properly. So we have our bias strips stitched together and seamed. And I take a piece of lace insertion and machine baste it right down the center, over top of that seam. Then I will take the bias strip, take the underneath piece, and fold it back to one side, so that on one side I have 1 layer of fabric, on the other side I have 3 layers of fabric. Then I'll use your machine zigzag and zigzag along one header of the lace. You can see I've done that on this side. And I would use white thread and not black. Then I will take the other side, fold the underlayer back, so that on this side I have 3 layers of fabric on this side, 1 layer on this side. And on the layer with one side, I'll stitch along the header of the lace on that side. Then I'll pull my basting thread out so that the piece looks just stitched like this. Then I'll turn it over because this is really the right side of the strip. The lace is on the underside of the cathedral lace window strip. I make marks at intervals, about 2.5 to 3 inches depending on the width of the lace. And I'll stitch a little zigzag with the feed dogs drop. You know the way you would sew a machine button on by machine, where the stitch just goes back and forth and back and forth, so that I just catch both edges of that folded fabric seam on either side of the stitching. Then I'll pull out the basting thread of this seam, so that the only thing holding it together are these little buttonhole stitches, or button sew-on stitches. Then these edges are folded bias. Bias is stretchy, and I just open those up along the lace. I'll take a bit of glue stick and hold that little lip open. Not enough glue. There. Do the same on both sides. See, there's the oval. I need to press this dry then to make sure that the glue is completely dried. Then I have to hold these little folded edges down and secure that with either a straight stitch right along the outer edge of the fold, or you can use a zigzag or a tiny little blanket stitch. I don't like to use a pin stitch, not a repetitive stitch, just forward and over, just a real tiny little stitch. And then done with matching thread, this is what it looks like. Just nice little lace ovals with the shadowed lips around the oval. I have several samples here. This dress shows the cathedral lace windows going on either side of a strip of smocking. This is my daisy pattern. And here is a christening gown version of the same dress. You can see the cathedral lace windows going down the sides of the dress. They can be inserted into a project with either entredeux on the sides or just a straight seam to another piece of fabric. So that's cathedral lace dress. Thank you.